Hi, I'm Randy Hollenbeck, and this is the Music Roundtable. Today on the show, we have pop artist Badluv.
What's up? Thanks for having me.
They might just come in handy, thinking back before the gap we made gets close between our hands. I helped you out by leaving when you said leave. I held you close back when you still needed me. If you leave, just don't let me go, 'cause I'm good to wait for what I still believe is meant for me.
I just want to start out by getting into some fun, easy questions. What was one of your favorite albums growing up?
Well, I would say the reason that I really started to make music, which is, I don't know if this is the best answer, but it was actually not the Marshall Mathers LP1, but it was the Marshall Mathers LP2 by Eminem, because that came around right around the time when I was in like like when I was going to be a teenager. And I listened to Eminem growing up when I was a kid. My older brothers would have it on or something, so I was familiar with him, of course. But that was the first time that was the first time I really sat down and listened to an album in general. I mean, um, yeah. So that was probably my first favorite album I can remember. Um, yeah.
Okay. Favorite concert you attended?
Well, I've been to a few. I've actually not been to that many concerts, if you can believe it. I think I've played more concerts than I've actually been to. Um, Now I've seen. I love Post Malone. I think it's pretty evident if you listen to my music. He's a big influence of mine. I've seen him live twice now, and he puts on a great show. And I always I've seen other shows that are really well done and a lot of fun. But when you know an artist, when it's your favorite artist and you know all the words to every song, those are the shows you have the most fun at, regardless of how great the production is or what have you. But I've also seen Paramore live, and Paramore put on, I would say, the best performance, I guess you could say, in terms of vocals and music and in that regard. But I love a good Post Malone show, and I will be seeing him when he comes to Pittsburgh again in May. Yeah, which will be my third time.
Okay. I just wanted to dig into some history. What sparked your interest in the music, getting into being like a performer, a singer? What initially made you decide?
Well, it's in my family. I mean, my dad, growing up, was in a band his whole life, and he can shred on a guitar. And I wouldn't say he's the best singer, but he can. He's a great musician, and he played in bands all of his life. And when I was a kid, our house, we had a big house. 'Cause I had two brothers, it's three boys and my dad. Um, we didn't have a dining room. We had a studio that he converted. He took our dining room and took the dining room table out and brought in, the drums and the keyboard and the mics, and he sound paneled the wall. And so I've always been around it. And I had, just like everybody else, I had my troubles as a young kid, and stuff that I went through and was dealing with. And I, again, through stuff like the Eminem album that I stumbled upon when I was, growing up, it just inspired me to give it a shot for myself. And I started writing raps at home. I wasn't showing anybody, but I was writing them, and trying to get better and write clever lines. And it just became an outlet for me to be, to get stuff off my chest and express myself. And still to this day, it's exactly why I do it. It's the same reason I started. I do it. I'm a writer. It's almost weird calling myself a musician sometimes, because as much as I do make music, I am much more of a writer and a lyricist with some pitch correction. That's that's what I'm good at. So yeah, it's always been an outlet. It's always been therapeutic, and I've used it in that way. And it's I've selfishly done it for that reason for a long time. And it's cool that there's people out there that like what they hear and keep coming back for more. And yeah.
Okay. Uh, Along with Post Malone and Eminem, who would also be some of your influences?
Well, I'm a big, like I said, uh, and there's difference to me in terms of like the genre of music and the writing style. Like, I have some of my music is influenced by Post Malone in the sense of like a quick beat and acoustic guitars and what have you. But I mean, Frank Ocean is one of my favorite lyricists of all time, mostly because I don't understand a lot of his writing. Sometimes, there's plenty of songs by Frank Ocean that I listen to that I don't understand, because his writing has so many layers to it that it's like it takes me years of listening before I can really unwrap the message he was conveying in that song. But even through the way he sings, you feel it, but you can't really explain it, but you feel it. So stuff like that I love. I've really fell in love with The Weeknd in the last few years. Whenever he dropped his After Hours album in 2020, that was a big turning point in my fandom for him, because I never really listened to him before, but then once that album came out, I became a super fan. So he's been a big inspiration lately for me too, and you'll hear it in the next set of songs that I drop. My inspirations are on my sleeve. It's not too hard to figure out who I'm inspired by, but yeah.
You were talking like Frank Ocean. Do you use some of his techniques, like being cryptic with your songs?
I can't. I mean, yeah, I think about it sometimes. Because it's weird. I don't plan to write songs. Songs are just, they come to me in the moment. It could be while I'm getting lunch, after I finish up my meal or whatever, meaning I'm decide I'm going to write a song. It could be driving home from work at night where I'm just, it's a lot in my head and I need to get it off my chest. So there's sometimes where I'll think, hey, I want to write something that makes you think a little harder, right? And then, I can't just really sit down and start writing just because I have to feel it. There has to be something I want to say. So a lot of times that'll result in me being more direct than I maybe plan to be. But at the same time, I don't like to change stuff just for a certain reason. If the way it comes out is the way I want it to come out, I want to stay that way. I don't want to manipulate it just to sound different or to sound more cryptic or a certain way. But if I'm in the moment when I'm writing and there's a line, sometimes I write a line that I'm like, that's too easy. I need to change this and make it a little bit more, add layers to it. So yeah, yes and no. It depends.
Okay. How'd you come up with the name Badluv?
It's a great question. So whenever I started music, um, I was looking for a stage name, and I was more of a rapper at the time. So I was, trying to think of a cool name, cool rap name. So I looked into, I'm Irish. A big part of my heritage is Irish. So the first thing I thought was like, let me take something from the Irish language and translate it and see if I can find a cool name. So I took like life or love or whatever it meant, and I translated it. And then I found it. It was soul. It was SOAL. soul. So I ran with that for a little bit. And then the more I got further into my career, I was like not feeling it anymore. So I said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go to just do my name. So I was literally putting out music under the name Seth Truskowski. And I did that for a couple of years. And I remember being at a show, which this is kind of all tying together a little bit because I was at a Black Bear show. Black Bear is like a R&B pop artist that I grew up listening to as well, and he's also a big influence for me, a huge influence. I was at his show and I was looking at the marquee and I saw Black Bear live, sold out or whatever, and literally in that moment I had this epiphany. I'm like, I don't know if I can see Seth Truskowski live on a marquee like that. I don't know if it just wasn't matching the vibe of the brand I was trying to create. So I decided to think of a new name, and I racked my brain for what felt like forever. I could not think of anything that I was even close to liking, because it's like, how do you think of a cool name that you're going to use for the rest of your life or the rest of your career? Like, how do you just think of it like that? You don't. So I ended up at like literally like a last gasp, because the last thing I want to do is copy anybody, but I went through a list of my favorite songs, just maybe looking for something that I could find inspiration from. And Black Bear has a song called My Bad Love, and then Halsey has a song called Bad at Love. And I just saw Bad Love, and I saw it as one word, and change up the spelling a little bit, and there you go. And it's short, it's easy to remember and easy to spell, and it's not confusing, and I'm happy with it. Sometimes nowadays I might feel a little silly calling myself Bad Love to people. People at work will call me Bad Love. It's like kind of like a joke, but it's my cross to bear. I've stuck with it. I've trademarked it, so I'm stuck with it. But it's all
good. Okay, I wanted to dig in a couple songs. Speaking of Bad Love, like some of these songs are about like relationships and stuff. And the first one is Fall Dead. And you say, I have to find out who I am for you and me. Like, you need to find out, you have to be healthy to like go into a relationship. You have to work on yourself and stuff before you could like go into a relationship with like chaos that you left from like the past. So can you tell me a little bit about Fall Dead?
Yeah. Fall Dead I love that song. It's, there's songs I look back on that, I kind of fall out of love with. Maybe I'm not, I'm more fond of other songs. But I love that song. And that was kind of like my return to that more pop acoustic sound, because at the time, that last year, I was making a ton of different stuff. I started the year off with a rock album, like a hard rock album. And I followed that trail for a little bit and put out a few more singles, totally rock. And I've always had rock influences, but I was like, really, it just felt like I really wanted to make a rock record. So I did that. And then I kind of switched a little bit more into even a little bit of country. Like I had a little bit of a country influence on the next album I made last year. But I felt like I'm really good at the acoustic pop upbeat song. Like that specific song. I feel like I'm really good at making that kind of song. And I was ready to get back into it, and I found that beat from God. I can't. There's a producer. He goes by In Bloom, and he's responsible for a lot of those acoustic upbeat songs. And I found that one, and yeah, it's just like one of those things that spoke to me, and I was able to write some really good lyrics too. And yeah, the song itself, it's kind of just an ode to a relationship that maybe didn't go so well at first. but you've worked on yourself and you're ready to try again, and you feel like you're a better person now, and you feel like you can do better. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Touch of camo in my veins, might think not much has changed. Baby, you don't know the half of what I have became. I got feelings from the past that pop up now and then. It reminds me of the things, the what we could have been. Always on my mind. One thing I've never done is lie. Yeah, baby, you've been on my mind. I think about you all of the time. Like I could either fall for you, or I can fall dead. Ask me what I want, it's you. 10 times out of 10. 'Cause I could either fall for you, or I could fall dead. Ask me what I want, it's you. You 10 times out of 10.
The next song is called Good to Wait, and it says, I helped you out by leaving when you said to leave. Like, there's a time and place where you're like, hey, maybe I should pull away from this so she could figure out it might not, I might not be the problem. There might be other things at work here, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's a and that is true, and it's also like a lot of times whenever relationships end, I would say most of the time it is one person doesn't want it to end and one person does want it to end, and the person that does want it to end, they want space from you. They want, they need time away from you. um, and a lot of times people want to stick around and they want to try and make things work, and it's not the right thing to do. And being the person that sticks around when you're not wanted, that's a real burden for people, because they don't want to hurt you, but they don't want to be around you right now. And that's where that line comes from. It's like, you know I gave you what you wanted. You wanted me gone, and I left when you said to leave. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like that old saying, well, if you leave and she comes back, then it was meant to be, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
Stone cold sober, I can see that on my very best days are in front of me. My white Converse go white to green, standing in the grass and under a tree. I feel how I felt when you fell for me, just 10 times more than 23. 'Cause this time around I felt the heat from all the flames and the circles surrounding me. But I fought, and I fought to bring myself back from my knees. Imposter syndrome, some disease. Forgot what it means to be young and free. I guess only time can heal those things that we cannot see. Confused, frustration, so empty. But I'm back for me. I helped you out by leaving when you said to leave. I held you close back when you still needed me. If you leave, just don't let me go. 'Cause I'm good to wait for what I still believe is meant for me.
Let's see. What's your plans for the rest of this year? Do you have any shows coming up?
A lot of shows, a lot of jean shorts, a lot of dad humor on stage, a lot of music, because I'm at times an emotional wreck. I'm working with Allie now, which and she is the first person I've worked with that really knows what they're talking about and what they're doing. Because I've been doing music for a long time, and I've come across a lot of people who want to help, but they don't really have any idea of what they're doing. They just want you to pay them a bunch of money. Um, but Allie is a workhorse, and she's been getting me a lot of really cool opportunities and a lot of shows. Actually, the first one on the stretch is a week from today at the Smiling Moose. We're opening for a band called Your Neighbors. And we have stuff lined up for the rest of April, and we just booked another one for June. So, God willing, we're going to keep building on this and booking more and more shows. The dogs are barking. Booking more and more shows because I want to play as much as I possibly can. And ultimately, the goal would be to snag a tour of some sort, whether that's opening for somebody, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, something to get me on the road and get me to different cities. Because I've been playing Pittsburgh for a few years now, and I wanna go see some people from these cities that listen to me. I have a lot more listeners in Chicago, New York, these different cities that I have a lot more listeners there than I do here because, my music got big on the internet. It didn't get big from me doing local shows in Pittsburgh. It got big from word of mouth on the internet. So hopefully we can not only grow Pittsburgh, but grow those cities, and I can go visit them soon.
Okay. Let's see. How can we get a hold of you? Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, Instagram is I am Badluv, Badluv. Facebook is just Badluv. You'll see me posing in my black beanie in the profile picture. Pretty easy to find. I'm on Twitter, but I don't use it very much at all. TikTok, Badluv. Search Badluv, you'll find me.
Okay. There is a question that I didn't write down here. As like an upcoming artist, what are like some techniques or tricks you use to grab people's attention off the internet or
Um, a lot of people they love to do the TikTok, Instagram Reel type stuff, which I've been getting into more now that I'm working with Allie. She's been helping me out with that because I'm not a social media guy. I mean, unfortunately, my career choice deals a lot with social media, and I have to be a part of it. But really, I'm pretty reclusive. I wish I could just put music out and everybody would listen, but it doesn't work that way. Um, I really, what really kicked off things for me in terms of getting like my first million streams on Spotify was using Facebook ads. Whenever I was trying to figure out, because nobody was listening at first. I didn't have anybody who was paying attention to what I was doing. I would make these albums and these songs, and I put them out, and they would get no streams, and I was getting really frustrated. And I started looking into how I could promote my music better. And there's, you can run ads on Instagram from the app, and but I'm talking about like detailed, targeted Facebook ads that really make a difference. And there's actually a guy on YouTube. His name's Andrew Southworth, and I love to shout him out any chance I get because he has a whole YouTube channel based on how to do these ads correctly and how to budget them and how to target the right audiences and how to use placements and stuff like that. It takes some money. You gotta. I always say it takes money to make money, so you gotta be willing to shell out some, a few $100 whenever you want to drop a song if you want to get some good results. But that combined with the engine of Spotify, if you have a song that does well on Spotify, they're going to push it and they're going to put it in playlists, and they're going to, there's a whole algorithm that they work with their release radar playlists and their radio playlists and their Discover Weekly playlists. Like you really got to understand those and understand how to manipulate them and use them and get them to work, and also you got to make great music. You have to, a lot of people don't realize that it's not just how you're promoting a song. Like you have to be making good quality music that people want to listen to. You can never ever pay somebody to listen to your music. It'll never work. There's a lot of BS, and this is my advice to any artist who may be watching this. Don't do the pay $100 and you get put on playlists. Don't do the paid playlisting. Don't do any of that because it's all a scam. It's not real people, and it's not helping you. And it's actually kind of embarrassing because people can see it. And these are things I've done by trial and error because I remember I did one of those one time for a song back when I had no following. I obviously don't do it now, but I had no following, and I said, "Oh, you can just pay. You can pay $100, and you're going to get 5,000 streams." Hello, why isn't everybody doing this? And then you look, and it's people from third world countries that are playing your music, and it's like, oh, okay, that doesn't quite add up. Why aren't they following me on Spotify? Why aren't they following me on Instagram? You know, don't pay attention to the numbers in that regard. You want to build it the right way and do the right things and the honest things that are going to build your music. So that's where I started with it, and I still do. I still use the Facebook ads. I still use, and when you get into Spotify and you're doing and you have a following, then you can start looking into Spotify's ad campaigns and their assets they have to help you. So yeah, there you go. I hope I'm not doing too long-winded answers here.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Thanks for coming on the show today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Come see a show. Support the music. I'm a Pittsburgh guy through and through, and I would love to do more and more shows in Pittsburgh and get into some bigger venues and meet all the nice people that listen to my music. So yeah, come see a show, come support us, and really appreciate you, Randy. Thank you.